Ding 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 ding. That's my entry song. Actually, no. One of these days, I'm gonna find or figure out or whatever a cool little intro song. I really just don't like the stuff in the can.
I can make one. I'll just have to download it onto my computer. It's called I have Audacity, but then I also have GarageBand, and then I have like a little MIDI player that my brother bought. He says he's gonna use it, but he hasn't yet.
Yeah.
He's kind of on a slump a little bit.
Maybe I will, maybe I won't. We have to get him inspired. This is 2021. It's all about creative flow, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Japanese zodiac year of the ox.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I just read that and randomly spilled that out. But my name is Maris, and you are listening to Maris Keeps It Real, and this is actually season 3, episode 1. Oh my gosh! And I'm joined here by Gabby Pettis. I love saying that name, Pettis. Pettis.
Not for long.
Paris. It'll be something like Smith. And she's like, ha 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 ha. Bitch. No.
I've thought about keeping my last name, but I don't know if my significant other has.
Hyphenate it.
I've thought about doing that.
Then it could be Gabby Pettis Smith. Gabriela Perez Smith.
I think he's upset because maybe
I don't know if it's really Smith or not. I can't remember Ryan's last name. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. His last name, I told him, I was like, look, our kids are gonna have your last name. Mm-hmm. Like, it's gonna be fine. Like, it's fine. It's cool.
What?
Yeah.
You're not gonna try to hyphenate the kids, no.
I told him, I was like, if this was Mexico, it'd be different because I would keep my last name, but I'm just gonna leave it at that.
You know, that is very true.
Yeah, they don't change their last name because I asked my mom about that, and I was like, so what's the reasoning for that? And they're like, they just don't do it. They keep their own last name unless it's like they have the same last name. Because I know in like Native Americans, I don't know if they still do this, but they would actually keep the women's last name.
I think it depended on the tribe.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, because I mean, a lot of them are matriarchal actually when it came to lineage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you had some that are, but that's also very true in other countries and cultures all over the world.
You don't hear about it as often though. Yeah.
But I know it would in Spain when you got married, you would be a day, and then whatever your husband's last name. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
That's
you would be Gabby Perez Day Smith.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
And they do that in some areas in Mexico, dependent on if it's a heavier in the Indian culture or heavier in the Spanish, as in conquistador, Spain culture.
Okay.
Depending on where you have a heavier settlement. Because it's like in some, it's like even in Asia where they have like the light skin versus the dark skin.
Yes.
And I believe it's that way in India as well, that the lighter skin is preferred.
Really?
Well, in areas of Mexico, it's if you have an Indian last name, you are more preferred. Your lineage, your family, it would be a better marriage deal to marry into an Indian family with that Indian last name, like Laka Chakalaka, or whatever.
You can definitely tell the difference.
Than to marry a Hernandez,
Yes.
Hernandez is like marrying a Smith.
I was going to say that reminds me because there's actually a fruit in Mexico, and some people eat it. It's it's like a little fruit that's on top of the in Spanish it's called nopales, which is oh my gosh. Cactus, yes, cactus. And so the word for it is actually really funny, and it's called coconoshkri. And so I can't remember what the name in English is, but it reminds me of
the little thing on top of the nopal.
Yes,
that's
the little,
what it is.
Yeah, the little thing on top. And so I used to eat those whenever I was little, but they're very bitter. They're very, very bitter, and a lot of people put like lime and salt on it. But you have to cook it first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or boil it. But if you eat it by itself, it's not good for you. It'll actually like make you kind of sick. But yeah, that name you just told me, it's really funny because I was like, it's Coconoshkli, and it sounds like in like Native American or Mexican. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so,
Yeah, that's what it. Yeah, so it's I had a boss. His name was Joaquin Torres, back in like the 1980s, and he was a really articulate man, and he actually had taught me a lot about that concept of social hierarchy, and depending on where you are and what state, what area of the state, and in Mexico, and how they viewed a lot of things. Because he was like, I don't know if you can deal with Mexican culture, and it was something that even my parents, they said, just because people speak the same language doesn't mean they're the same culture. And a lot of times they have different views and perspectives of.
I will say, even just like, because whenever we go through, I didn't go this year, but whenever I would go visit my mom because she's over there, and the different states that we would go through, every single state was very different on like things that they would say, just little things here and there that would be a little bit different. Like even where my parents are from are very different from where my mom lives with my aunt right now in San Luis Potosí, and it's very it's more I would probably say the closest to like kind of pop culture-y. Like if you wanted to get more like Americanized, I would probably go to Mexico City, but where she's at in San Luis, they have a little bit more openness to certain things like shops and like close to where their city is, and it's very interesting how things are kind of run there, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
No, it is very different. And actually, the best international restaurants are rumored to be in Mexico City. It was like, if you wanted to eat the best Chinese food outside of China, you'd go to Mexico City.
And it's yes, and I will agree with you, because we actually went to the whenever my parents where my dad has his house or whatever, my grandparents live, we actually have a town about 30 minutes away, and it's called Irapuato. And their mall that they have, believe it or not, my parents have always said that there's tons of people from other different countries that come and stay here in in Mexico, and make restaurants, and a lot of them are actually like Chinese, and they make their food there, and Mexicans love it.
Yeah, they say it's like the best.
Yeah.
It was my parents, not my parents, but my grandmother. She was very much she loved Mexico City. Acapulco and Mexico City, that was her thing. And it was like when winter came, no, Granny was gone. And she liked to go to Acapulco, but she loved her some DF. And she would, hop on that train and
it's very Americanized. I've never been, but my parents have, and it's very city-like. It's very different from anything from all the other states
in
Mexico.
Definitely. I mean, it's, you think about it, it's like any major metropolitan city. And the undertones are there, but as in the social mores or the activity, the negocio, whatever, is very just traditionally metropolitan. It's a metropolitan global kind of city. So, but and it's, when I sit there and I think about how it's like partly built on a swampy kind of thing, and all the ding-dang energy. I've never been to Mexico City. I've been to other cities in Mexico, but I've never been to Mexico City. But have you ever been to New Orleans?
I haven't been to New Orleans, but I have been to what is it called, Louisiana, where LSU is, but I've never been in that sort of like
down in New Orleans.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I haven't.
Okay,
No.
so you probably drove through Shreveport or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very swampy and it was very different.
I like New Orleans. I like that city a lot. It has a very I will be honest. I have not been there since Katrina.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm you're gonna laugh when I tell you this, but I'm afraid.
Why?
I'm afraid of going there and experiencing all the emotion, the energetics from Katrina, and so it's kind of like, yeah, I'll go to New Orleans in my head. You know, I'll go to New Orleans by watching a show. You know, something like that. But New Orleans is actually like on this. Is it latitude that goes around, or longitude? Longitude is so latitude. It goes around. Okay.
Yeah.
Horizontal. Okay. New Orleans is on the same latitude as Cairo, Egypt.
Interesting.
And so they have, and both of those cities have some intense energy. So I'm like, ooh, what other cities are, let me go visit some other cities that are on that latitude.
I was going to say, I don't know, I think Tallahassee, Florida might be a little bit just, what's it called, just a little bit lower than New Orleans, because it's like over at the bayou and it's like down here in the Gulf of Mexico or whatever, but then it might be a little bit lower over here.
See, because I'm always curious, because as New Orleans has some phenomenal energy.
Their food is amazing.
One year we went on a cruise and we sailed out of New Orleans, so we stayed the night in New Orleans. Went on this cruise, and it was during Halloween, and so the lady that coordinated the cruise for us was very well connected with Carnival. So she ended up getting us where we were allowed to do readings on Halloween night while we were sailing at sea. So I probably did some 30, 35, 40 readings.
Oh my gosh.
On Halloween night. Made like $9 in tips. They were allowed to tip us. We couldn't charge. But they were allowed to tip us. So I think, but I don't think people intended on that wasn't the deal anyway. But it was really interesting. But yeah, me and my sister, we did, and a couple other people. We had tables set up, and we ended up doing readings for several hours on Halloween night. Yeah, they kicked my butt. The next day I crashed, but it was like the next day we're sailing back home.
Oh, okay.
So, we were docked into New Orleans, and we left. We didn't stay. We did the night before, the day before, or whatever. But yeah, on the day when we docked back in, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. And we're like, no, let's go back home.
Yeah, that was
early. Yeah. Yeah, they come in, they dock at 8 in the morning, and then from 8 to 1, they're doing all the cleanup, and turning all the rooms over and all of that stuff, and then they start boarding again at 1.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So no, they flip those ships pretty quick.
Yeah.
Get in there and get them all cleaned up. They want you, ouch!
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Cruises are okay.
I've never been on one.
When I was a nurse, there was a lady that went on a cruise, and she came back from her cruise, and she had a fever of unknown origin, NFUO, and then she ended up with some kind of bacterial infection, and they couldn't identify it.
I think that's so weird because there have been so many times or even just me reading articles like here and there where it will talk about people like getting sick on cruises or something happening. They're like, well, I don't know where it came from, or I'm healthy, I never get sick, and then they say like, oh, it's unknown, we don't know what it is. And I'm just like, whenever I hear or read stories like that, it's super shady to me. I don't feel comfortable. And maybe that's part of the reason why I've never been on a cruise, because it's kind of like, stuff like that is shady.
Well, I'm kind of like, you have people from all over the world going on a cruise, and it just happens to be, that's exactly where they're sailing out of, happens to be where you're sailing out of, and they're from some country that you've never ever heard of in your entire life. They're going to have different body flora. Mm-hmm. They're from a different country. They're going to have different, so I'm kind of like, yeah, you're kind of like, take your quercetin, take your vitamin C, keep your immune system healthy, but I don't know. I kind of think in many ways cruises are kind of overrated. It is 24-hour eat and drink, though. I mean, there's food served 24 hours a day.
I just got this big, like, nauseated feeling, because I'm like, think about all the people that go down there and eat, and think about how long that food has been sitting there, and who's touched it, who's looked at it.
Actually, I've had some of the best food on a cruise.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it served or is it buffet style?
I don't think, to be honest, I don't remember eating buffet style. Maybe breakfast.
Okay.
But that was like, a 6 to 10 thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But all the other, like, I always ate in the dining rooms. Mm-hmm. Unless we were grabbing a burger or whatever, But I ate in the dining rooms, I ate some pretty fine meals.
Okay, I was gonna say if it was buffet, I'd be a little like.
And I will just say this: they never tell you no on seconds, thirds, fourths, or whatever. So when it was like a filet mignon night, so sister here ate twice. Oh yeah, I wouldn't like. No, I'll be here twice. So I'm gonna eat 2, or I'm gonna have 2 plates. I'll have 2 steaks. Just go ahead and bring me the second one now, babe. Because I know I'm going to polish this baby off. But no, they had like really good dinner. The food was really good. Delicious. Yeah. It was really worth the experience.
That's good.
I was like, I wasn't crazy about the rooms, but hey, you're just hopefully sleeping a couple of hours. It would suck if it rained.
That would be,
you probably don't remember this airlines because you're a lot young. You're like young enough to be my child. You won't know this airlines, but when I grew up, we had an airlines named Braniff.
Oh no.
And Braniff Airlines colors were like yellow, orange, and reddish, maybe, or maybe like a magenta. Something like that. It was very typical 60s and 70s colors.
Okay.
And so Braniff had a specific look, and the airlines back then all kind of looked alike. That was when they were called stewardesses and not air flight attendants. And anyway, long story short, on it, it just looked 70-ish. And I will say that some of those ships on cruise ships kind of just remind me of the 70s. I won't lie.
I think it would be really cool if they actually kept something like that, because people would pay money to have the experience of being in like the 70s or 80s or 60s or something like that, and I think that would be really interesting.
Oh hell no.
No? You don't?
Well, I knew. Yeah, they would. Yeah, they would.
I was like, I would pay something like that for the experience, not necessarily like
I lived that era. That crap looked ugly, I was like, they had awful colors. I was like, I was sitting there kind of laughing in my head, and I'm like, the
pastel blues and oranges.
The Titanic was more elegant.
Yeah.
No, actually, it was like the like the entryway or whatever, like the main area, the main socially area of the ship, like where the crossroads are to everything, is usually always like pretty elegant. And they have like ballrooms and things that are really nice, but I don't know. It's just kind of like you go up. It's weird because it's like in the bar, the chairs are kind of like stapled, not stapled, but screwed to the floor.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. I'm like, well, hell, I guess they're just worried about the Titanic. You know, what if we like start swinging on one side, swinging? You know, they don't want people flinging all over.
Yeah.
The band is playing. You know,
Yep,
the chairs don't move, but you do. And so yeah, the dance bar was kind of corny. But it was, overall it was fun. They had it was like 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm out on the deck already suntanning. So no, I enjoyed, the aspect of it. I wasn't crazy. We went to Cozumel and Cozumel was okay.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of people love going to that one.
I was just kind of like, okay. The shopping was okay. The food was okay. I was like, well, what'd you do to get one? Yeah, mine. It's no big deal. I mean, it wasn't like, oh my God. And then a couple of years later, we went to Cancun. We flew there.
I was gonna say, I heard that one was really good too.
And we went to the Isla de las Mujeres or whatever.
I've never heard of that one.
And they have like a little pirate thing that you do, and it's more family oriented.
That makes sense.
And so, and we had my sister's two little kids, her two daughters, my nieces, and so yeah, I would, and I personally, if I ever went again, I wouldn't take anybody under the age of 15.
Yeah.
I personally.
Yeah.
And it's because little kids want to do little kid things, and I'm kind of like, Granny does not want to go play at the park.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a really cool park,
Right, yeah.
It's like, Granny wants to go lay on that beach and go play,
I will say one of the, what's it called? I think it was 2 years ago, whenever we were in Mexico visiting my mom, we actually went to a beach that was, how far away was it? I want to say it was like 6 or 7 hours when we drove there. Like, we got up early in the morning, drove there, and it's called La Barra de Navidad, and they actually discovered it on Christmas Day.
Oh, how cool.
And it's more family oriented as well, but there's also places where like adults can like go and have their fun or whatever, because there's different hotels that you can reserve and stuff. And I really, really enjoyed it. The weather was just amazing down there. It was super tropical, and from what the locals were telling us is that there's a bunch of people that actually retire, get their pension, and live down there, and they're from Canada. Like, there's tons of people from Canada down there. They just really, really like it.
Oh, a lot of people do that. The expats will do that.
Yeah, and they'll buy like their own house or whatever, and just kind of live down there. But the water was great. I mean, it was super warm. The people were really nice. I mean, the food was really good. Some of it was a little expensive because obviously it's kind of like more touristy and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, it was really fun. There were tons of people there. The water was great. Like, just the atmosphere itself was just really, really fun. And it was cheap. I mean, the hotels were super cheap, and
they just got you in the food. And I was over here laughing. I go, no, que yo voy a comprar salchicha con pan. That's what I'm gonna do. Give me some bologna and bread and whatever, some kind of, I'll eat hot dogs, man.
Yeah.
Give me the barres. I don't care, No, because I mean, it's been we've gone on trips before, and I do with my husband, because my husband, when he orders off of a menu, he orders usually one of the more expensive things, and you're looking at him like, dude, you just put $4 more on that ding dang tip with that, or whatever I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, damn. And I'm like, over here, I'll take a water, and he wants the big, whatever. So I got to the point that I was like, okay, in our hotel or our cabin or wherever we're staying, there better be a refrigerator. And I'm going to buy you all your little bologna and all of that crap. And that's what you eat. One meal a day you get out there, you know. And he's like, dang. And I'm like, dude, that was like $300 we spent on meals in one day. Because, yeah, he just, you know, he does that when he goes on a trip. And I'm like, don't do that. I was like, nah, we can't afford that.
I was going to say, we're usually pretty cautious. Like, me and Ryan, whenever we go out, we, like, take snacks or something like that. But unless he's, like, willing to splurge, I'm usually the one that's kind of, like, more like, okay, well, what am I going to get? He was like, and then after that, he's just like, you know what, don't worry about it. And then I'll see him order, I was like, what?
He ordered that prime rib? I'll take one, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I was like, yeah, but I was, you know, but no, I try to fulfill, no, I will say, I fulfill my desire, because I will want what I choose to eat. I may really want that prime rib, but remember that I got X, Y, and Z, and I'll go, I would love that honey garlic chicken, you know. Or the smothered steak, you know, whatever that is. But I'm just, I think it's like when I try to be cautious if I'm spending somebody else's money.
Yeah, even now us being together, I still do.
You know, and it's, I had somebody teach me this, and it was a loving experience. It wasn't anything, you know, horrific, and it was you can't be generous with somebody else's money.
I agree.
You know, unless they give you, because there's a book where a guy just gives this checkbook to another man and tells him, I need you to spend $5,000. You know, and he's like, $5,000? I just want you to go out there and give $5,000 away. Who am I going to give $5,000 away? Just give $5,000 away. Not to one person, but spread it out, you know. And so the guy was like having difficulties being generous with somebody else's money. And it was just like kind of being like really cautious with things. And, you know, and I said, that's kind of like a really good quality. But in somebody, but we don't always think about that. And I don't think this, you know, I don't think this generation, I sound like an old hag.
Well, my younger brother actually was telling me about that, because whenever I was younger, I was always taught to get one of the cheapest things on the menu, just because it was like they're inviting you out to eat. It's common courtesy to, you know, but then as time went on, they were like, you don't have to get the cheapest thing on the menu. You can get whatever you want. And this actually was a childhood friend that I had been for a long time, and so it was just kind of like not being ashamed of, you know, because they were comfortable enough with me that I could get what I wanted and not have to worry about money, because they were pretty, like, they lived very simplistically, but they knew how to like manage their money and stuff like that. And so one of the things that my younger brother was telling me that the kids at his school is that they wanted to, they felt very entitled to certain things because they were different, or because they were and this is not to say that like gender, or if they're heterosexual or homosexual, or you know, whatever the case is, but a lot of the time that just because they're bi, or you know, they have a different quality than somebody else, or maybe because they have X amount of followers or whatever, they feel like they're entitled to certain things. And my brother has actually been seen like telling these individuals, like, you are no different than anybody else. Like, yes, you may have X amount of followers, but you are just a person like everybody else. So just because you have X amount of followers doesn't mean that you get private or entitled to something more than anybody else. Yeah. And people don't like him whenever he said things like that, because they think he's an asshole for saying that. And I'm like, no, like, it's true. It's very true. I mean, just because I'm first generation doesn't mean that I should be spoiled or be treated any different than anybody else. Like, we all are humans.
Oh, there's been moments that I thought I should be treated better than others. I won't deny that. But I agree. And we've cultivated that. That, I'm going to say my generation,
Mm-hmm.
we planted those seeds and we cultivated that behavior. We really did. And what anybody that's in their
Really?
30s and below are doing,
Mm-hmm.
my generation planted that seed.
I think it's so funny that you say that because a lot of the older people, Brian's dad has even said that they're like, oh, you guys think you're so special and all this and all that. I mean, obviously, like everybody, I mean, other people will see it differently, but he's said that. So I think it's really interesting that you say that, because I've heard different people say different things, but I've
Oh no, we
heard,
created you.
that's so interesting.
I'm old enough to be your mom.
Mm-hmm.
I would have created. So it's like, so when my kids,
Mm-hmm.
it was, I have some estrangement going on. And it's because we have very differing views.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm to blame on on a lot of that because I cultivated that thought in their head at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, I love my daughter, don't get me wrong, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but my daughter and I do not agree on several things.
Mm-hmm.
And we had agreed to disagree, and then, and I'm telling you, COVID-19 is a bitch.
Mm.
She broke up a lot of peoples. She broke up a lot of families. She broke up marriages. She broke up friendships, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start thinking about to that intensity, but people that are in their 30s and below that have elitist kind of mindset
Mm-hmm. Or perspective.
and perspective on that, we allowed the cultivation of that. Nobody because it wasn't cool to put you in check.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like back in the 50s, in the 60s, in the very early 70s, you were acting like a spoiled brat. Your parent would say to you, do you want me to bust your ass here in the store, or do you want me to bust your ass
Oof.
in the
My
car?
My parents would do that, yeah.
Okay, my parents would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want me to bust your ass? I don't think it was quite said like that. That's in
But it
Maris
was more
version.
of like, ¿quieres que te castigue aquí o allá en la casa?
Yeah.
Escoge.
Pay attention, pendeja, And so you start looking at it in that aspect, and then that all of a sudden that was like, oh, you're tormenting these children, you're making them, aggressive people, blah, 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 blah. And then boom, and we went to the extreme, and it was like free range parenting. Kids were throwing down in stores, and parents didn't want to say anything. Well, we'll just ignore Johnny until he stops. As your kid is beating the shit out of you.
Oh, no.
And it was really weird because I did the psychiatric nurse thing. I got this gnat. I did the psychiatric nurse in pediatric mental health,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the nurse manager or whatever
Mm-hmm.
over a behavioral unit,
Mm-hmm.
and one of these patients broke his teacher's arm. And you look and you're like, wow. And these are like average kids. These were like white middle class kids. There was a percentage that the socioeconomic group was different, or their ethnicity was a little different. But for the most part, they were white kids,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, whoa, what the heck? What happened here? And it was essentially, we forgot how to parent.
There weren't any boundaries.
We went from one extreme where you were suffocating them with your boundaries
Mm-hmm.
to an extreme where there were no boundaries, and it was that free range BS.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, parents wanted to be friends with their kids.
And
I'm like, they are not your friends.
I was going to say, that's literally the worst thing you can do as a parent and parent is telling your child, I am your friend, because my mom has done that. And I think that eventually it got to the point to where, because I know that, like, obviously my mom is my mom, but I don't want my mom to be my best friend. I want my mom to be a mom. And if that's being completely honest and truthful with me, even if I don't like it, then so be it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where I just don't think that's a good idea, because if you already have the mindset of, I'm gonna be your best friend, best friends don't parent each other.
No.
That's not there's that inconsistency of the parent.
No, you're right, and I'll tell you, it was like,
and I don't have any children. I'm just
no. Well, I sit there and I look, and I said, we created, and meaning me, my generation. I'm plus 50. We created the social environment that was right for Antifa. And BLM and all of these anti-groups. I'm gonna say we in our parenting, in the way that we allowed education to be expressed, and we created that. They can sit back and think they did all of that, but I'm like, oh no, it was people my age that planted those seeds and created a social environment that was right for that. And that was, had to do with our parenting and what we were allowing, and I'll say, and it was, we were allowing things to happen because we were disengaged from our children. We were too busy finding ourselves that we forgot that we had kids. I mean, we didn't forget we had kids, but we allowed the blurring of responsibilities to occur. And so a lot of kids, when you, I was thinking of that book, Lord of the Flies. When you allow children, and I'm going to say it just like this, when you allow children to dictate how society rolls, this is what you get. And I'm doing, I'm kind of like just doing my finger in the air in a circle, meaning, everything that's going on right now. We allowed that to occur. We allow, and I'll tell you, Hilaria Baldwin is a perfect example. Now, she's the young hot chick, or younger hot chick that's married, because I think she's not so young anymore, that's married to Alec Baldwin. I can't stand him. I used to love him.
He always plays the asshole roles in movies, and I think it's maybe his face and his persona, but I genuinely still think that he just gives off that vibe of, like, asshole.
He's an ass.
Yeah, an asshole.
Shoot,
like,
remember when the ex Kim Basinger had posted or released the voicemails that he left his daughter? God, I mean, he called her like a C word.
What?
Yeah, the C-U-N-T. Yeah. I can't even say that word. I can't.
I don't like that word.
I don't like that word. I've said it a couple of times because there are people that are totally defined that way. But that negative vibe is what I meant. But yeah, he called her. I can't remember what her name is. It's something with a C. Was it Chelmsford? No. Chelsea? No, I don't think that's it. It's a different kind of name. But he calls her a C word and fat and just talks some craziness. She's between 11 and 13 when this happens. And I'm kind of like, dude, I would have given you the great big middle finger twice.
I was
with both hands.
I was going to say, as a 11, 13-year-old, if you tell that to a young girl, you will demolish their self-esteem.
And I'm kind of
demolish.
And I'm kind of like,
There's no going back.
You know, I had to be shown things from the outside to actually have a perspective on my own parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not a good parent in hindsight. And I've went to each one of my kids and apologized. I'll just let me lay this out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like we all make stupid choices, and some choices are very stupid, and we can demolish and hurt people and hurt our kids. I think that part of their healing is to hear, and I'm sorry
Mm-hmm.
from the parent. I think that's a really big part of it. And part of that parent's healing is to be able to sit down and look at their kid, or maybe on the phone if you can't look at your kid, and say, I screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is what I'm going to take accountability for and responsibility for, and I'm sorry. I hope you're not having to do therapy over this, you know. God! You know, and then you're like, okay. You know, but going back to Hillary. So she's married to Alec Baldwin,
Mm-hmm.
and Hilaria, it's Hillary, a.k.a. also known as Hilaria Baldwin, and ends up that she's a Boston socialite.
Bostonian
Socialite. I guess her parents retired to Spain, so that's where she gets the clout, and I'm using clout in quotation marks,
Mm-hmm.
with my tongue in my cheek, you know, oh yeah, to say that she's Spanish, and then uses a Spanishy accent when she's doing her yoga or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess she's some kind of online yoga instructor, which I don't do yoga, and I don't get it, I don't understand it.
She's got quite what's it called?
A following, or
she has a following. She also does podcasts, is what I was reading.
I guess I'll have to go and listen to her podcast and see if she's going to talk to me in Spanish. You know, Alec, fíjate, mira nomás, se me olvidó la palabra papapino. She was doing some kind of thing and she couldn't remember the word for cucumber.
Pepino?
Yeah. No, she was saying pepino, but she couldn't remember the English word for pepino.
Okay.
So she couldn't remember the word. She was saying she couldn't remember the word for that. And I'm like over here, and I'm like, girl, you know, there are sometimes I cannot remember the name of a lid, like on a pan.
Oh.
And I'll go, and I'll just I go, give me the tapa, and they're like, and they go, what is that? And I go, it's a tapa in there, and I'm like,
I've done that to Ryan.
and I look at them and I go, I can't remember the name of it. And then they look at me and they go, Mother, you speak English. English is your first language. And I go, but I know, but I call it so often in Spanish, I forgot what it's called in English.
Yep.
Oh, and then I'll go, oh, it's a lid, you know, or oh, it's a this, or oh, it's a that. And then I'm like, shit, I can't believe I remember it in Spanish, which is a second language, not a first language. You know, but I can't remember what it is in my first language, and I speak my first language every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think it's just how you identify.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, kind of going back to Hillary or Hilaria. I'm going to call her Hilaria.
Okay.
Because that's the way I know her.
Mm.
No, I don't know her personally.
Mm-hmm.
I just know her through social media.
Yeah. Okay.
And, you know, and so I guess it ends up, I was reading on, you know, the Twitter tweets, and then Twitter tweets say something along the lines that it was Alec Baldwin's stalker, and I mean, he has a stalker. He's fat, ugly, and nasty, and an ass. Who the hell wants to date him?
Oh.
Hilaria, you know. But
Man.
you're over there like, how did that hot chick marry him?
She probably didn't. Probably manipulation and just I mean setup.
Well, you know what? Okay, because that's what I get. Oh, this
Setup.
is and I'm like, this is a bloodline ritual marriage. You know, I was like, it's a Luciferian. Yes, I said that. It's a Luciferian connection. That's what I picked up on that. I was like, oh yeah, Jezebel and what's his name? Ahab, you know. I was like, we got Jezebel and Ahab hooked it up, and they're creating their own legacy. Poor kids. Got a crazy ass mom and a crazy ass dad. Please. Shoot. Anyway, but I was like, so here's the deal. So it ends up the stalker outs him and says that Hilaria is really Hillary. And that she's a chick that graduated, that went to school, that was from Bostonian. So she lived in Boston, and did the little college thing and whatever. And how come nobody outed her? Seriously. Everybody was in the gig.
They were paid, is what I'm getting. They were paid because whenever certain things like that, even celebrities, I mean, they pay individuals like that to keep their secret because there's something on it for them.
Okay, so what does that say about our integrity as people, our integrity to truth, our integrity? I would say, if they came up and I was like, Hilaria's really Hillary, and like I just heard her talk like a Yankee. Cussing that guy out, and and I'm like, oh honey, you are not Hilaria de España, you're not my Marimar on that.
I think at that point they don't care, because if they honestly really did care, I think they would have done a better job. But it's about keeping that elite status and having this persona, like you said, that they're really not.
Because I was like, is that her stage character?
I would probably think so.
Like RuPaul at the end of the day takes off the wig and all of that stuff and lays down as, whatever his birth-given dude name is,
Isn't it funny, and this is just what came to mind, because I'm like, isn't it funny that she's actually a yoga instructor, though? Think about it energetically. What are you doing with your body?
I don't believe. Okay, I do not support yoga. I do not believe in yoga. And people will say, well, we can do yoga and do biblical scriptures. And I'm like, I don't do yoga. I believe that yoga opens up the channels and allows the flow of energy in and out. And you have absolutely no guarantee of what's coming in. It's peace, love, and harmony. Not all the time.
Which I've actually, whenever I've done readings for myself, it's always recommended me do Tai Chi, never yoga.
Yeah,
Tai Chi.
Tai Chi is different. And I know people love yoga and they do yoga and they Gumby it up.
But that was just the thought that came to mind.
Yeah.
I was like,
And it's because I meditate about all this stuff. Don't get me wrong on this. I meditate a lot and I ask. So if it's like something comes up and I'm like, oh, I really want to do this. It sounds really interesting. And what do I think? I might enroll in that class. I might even pay for that class. But I don't make it to that class. Something obscures me in my path. I'm not supposed to do that. And and it was like, well, you can do Pilates. And I was like, I don't even like Pilates.
Pilates is hardcore.
I'm like, I don't know about anybody. I go walk.
Get your little dumbbells.
I'd rather go walk than, because I feel like I have moved forward. If you're on a treadmill, you're running in place. But I went 15 miles in place.
In place, yeah.
You energetically did not move yourself forward. Well, I burned 400 calories. Okay, great.
I'd rather walk outdoors. I'm the type of person that I like the scenery, and if it's me, like, it takes my mind off of actually exercising, and it puts me in a better mood being outside, knowing that I'm like, okay, I'm actually enjoying, I'm exercising, it's setting the mood.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, but on the yoga, no, I don't practice yoga. I'm not an advocate for yoga. I know people that do yoga, and I'm like, rock on, awesome. Maybe it's my affliction that I can't be Gumby and stick my my leg behind my neck and all of that stuff. Maybe
I love Gumby. That was such a great show.
I know I love Gumby too. But I'm kind of like, yeah. But energetic, so what, technically when you talk about yoga, you're clearing and balancing yourself, body, mind, and spirit via these, what is it, yoga rides, out of the Hindus or whatever.
Something like that.
Something, out of some Swahami dude or chick, I don't know. And it was the way of actually... The positions or ways of how they were honoring their different gods and goddesses.
Interesting.
And that's, so I'm like, okay. So technically, people are looking at it, oh, it's just exercise. That's how I get my energy going.
I was going to say, there's a lot of people that,
and then other people are going, oh, this is how I honor and worship this god or this goddess, whatever. And so... I don't know. I look at it as in the energetics of it. It opens up particular channels that if I am detached from my body, if I am detached from my body and out there in La La Land, who's watching my body to ensure shish doesn't get in?
And a lot of people don't think about it that perspective because, like you said, they're thinking about exercising, they're thinking about getting their energy flowing. So it's one of those things where what is really the significance behind it, and why are we doing it?
Yeah, which is, like in this Tai Chi reminds me of Kung Fu, which reminds me of Jiu-Jitsu, I love martial arts, and actually,
it's so amazing.
I love the Chinese movies, the old Chinese Kung Fu movies. Oh my God. Oh, you don't even have to put the sound on. I just want to watch all of the body energy and the movement. It's so beautiful. But yeah, I have like several movies, like The Bride with White Hair is like my favorite. But, so when we look at Hilaria and we think about the intentions of yoga is about balance and wellness and getting your energy into balance and clearing it and cleansing it and all that groovy stuff, right? So we have a person that's not even who she says she is.
Yeah.
Trying to preach or teach, lead, guide on something that I feel is very intimate and personal. So it's kind of, to me, I'm going to say it like this. Oh my gosh. To me, it's not any different than when a priest molests a kid. It's that same kind of violation.
It's like that energy.
Energetic, energy.
Yeah.
You're selling me as you are this person, meaning, you've got everybody here believing that you're this hot chick babe from Spain that brings this, cool stuff to the front. And I'm like, what was the difference between her and what was her name, Rachel DeLenz? Remember the chick that was over NAACP, some kind of, God, she was, let me get her on Google. Let me get her on Google. Her name was Rachel, Rachel. Dolezal.
Oh, okay.
Rachel Dolezal.
It says that she's an American professor.
Yeah, also known as Nkechi Amare Diallo, is an American former college professor and activist known for identifying as a black woman despite being born to white parents. She is a former NAACP chapter president. and it ends up that she's a white chick, but she identifies as black.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay.
So I was like, so how much of that did she devalue NAACP or that chapter? Maybe that chapter alone. Because I was, because...
Yeah, because the image that I'm getting in my mind, the way that it's being shown to me is that she's, that it's like she's stripped away that part of her, that essence, because of who she believed she didn't think or thought that she was. And it's almost like taking that part of you.
I believe that Rachel... or Nikichi, whatever her name is, I believe that she believes she is black. Okay? I believe that she's a black woman caught in a white woman's body. And to be honest, I could really give a crap what she really wants to. Not that I'm going to be rude to her about it.
Yeah, it's
but
just
you want to be black, honey, you're black.
Yeah, that's your
You want to be white, you're white. I don't care what you are. You're Rachel, and I think that nobody encourages people just to be you. It's like you have to identify as something. My question with Hilaria is, girlfriend, did you choose to live that, or were you given that role? Did you create that persona, not ever realizing that you were gonna, hit it big? Or was that persona created for you in order for you? Were you given a script? Because I get the feeling she's given a script.
Yeah, they changed the person that she was once that...
Well, they always said that she was she acted entitled and a little bitch. She's not any different.
I was going to say that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, one thing, once she married, it was almost kind of like... whatever you thought that you were has nothing to do with the person that you are now, and it was kind of like, and then this like a shadow came over, like, this is who you are now.
We're gonna connect you with one of the Baldwin brothers, and she's like over there, please be the hot one, please be the hot one, please be the hot one. No, we gave you Lardo. Oh fudge, I'm gonna have to do that. What the hell?
It's okay, we'll give you a surrogate.
Yeah. And then that
sounds so bad.
No, she was tapping that. And so, and I'm over here thinking about this, is that, you're gonna be this person. You're gonna come out as Hilaria, whatever.
I got one of them.
You what?
They caught one of the gnats.
Oh, thank you. Yay. I think it's off one of my plants over there. I'm going to go take them all out and spray them. And, so we're going to get you with one of the Baldwin brothers, and she's hoping it's the hot one, and she ends up with dude. And then, so she's now in the mix of this. And this is what I'm picking up energetically on it. Is that she pretty much was brought into that, and and it's like they never tell you the true extent of where you're gonna go.
This is who you are. This is who you're gonna marry. This is how many kids you're gonna have. This is what you're gonna do. That's it. But they don't tell you the journey.
The journey, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We're just going to tell you the major milestones.
Oh, yeah.
You make the trip yours. Personalize it. Put your HB on there, baby. Whatever you need to do. And so, so I, in some ways, I feel sorry for her, because I feel like she's a willing victim. She was willing to have that level of fame, fortune, being known, whatever, on that. So she had a degree of that part that she accepted. I don't think that she personally sat back and said, I would just love to be outed.
Yeah, I don't think very many people expect that from happening, because I mean, you have one person, but then you have a million other people like doing research on this particular person. It's like you don't know what you're gonna find, and that's the crazy part. Is like you really have to be careful, but sooner or later, like they're gonna find out. There's so much information out there.
Within 36 hours of her being outed, her Wikipedia was quietly changed.
What?
Yeah. Her Wikipedia was changed. So I'm like, okay. So they're in on it. That's why I was like, and Wikipedia that day, you know, when they took me to the Wikipedia site, 3 times asked for donations. And I was like, dude, you need to go on Pornhub and go ask the folks over there, because that's where the bitches that you work with came from. He was like he was like a fat slob guy with a fat slob wife. I'm sorry to say it like that. But he ended up, I guess they like split up, or he kicked her out or whatever. And then he hooks up with these chicks
I was
from.
gonna say he's got a bad rap with women in general.
And
like, it's just bad.
you know, so I'm like, so I already, because your site isn't true as it is, you print whatever, and then you want me to donate to your National Inquiry kind of yellow journalism, yellow report. I don't know what you even call it. You know, it's supposed to be a Wikipedia. I remember when I used to teach, and students would try to turn in crap, and their reference was Wikipedia. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, don't use Wikipedia.
Don't use Wikipedia. Only ding dong dillywogs. But no, what did I get? You know, for Hilaria Baldwin, I got to Wikipedia. But yeah, they changed her, you know, her profile and everything on there.
I can change your life and make your dreams come true. All you have to do is donate.
Yeah, to Wikipedia. And I'm like, so, and it's the vibration in it, and I'm like, dude can be bought. There's no integrity. There's no integrity on there. If you can go and quietly change something or delete something, you know, because now it's not, you know, or that person, Hunter Biden's in the news or whatever, we got to change that. So, yeah, I'm not down for that. And then earlier, it was like something, we were doing something, and both Gabby and I started like clapping our hands at the same time. Going, yay! And we look at each other. She goes, I do that with the kids. And I said, I've been watching chimpanzee shows. But I've been watching that Myrtle Beach safari. I've been watching it over on YouTube. And then it goes to this Mokisha or whatever her name is. I go and watch her every once in a while. And I'm like, who's that obnoxious dude? Because there's always this guy that's kind of loud. And I'm like, shut up. You know, loud and obnoxious. And, you know, around all these animals. And ends up it's that Bhagavan. Dr. Bhagavan something or other, you know. And I went, he was on the Tiger King.
He was the guy that took over after, what's his name? The main guy.
After Joe Exotic, yeah.
Joe Exotic, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
He is a con artist.
You know what? I like watching that Myrtle Beach because I think the Myrtle Beach Safari, because I think the people that work there, like China and you know all the other Allison, whatever her name is, you know, and Cody, I think they truly love those critters.
I do,
and give that energy and that love to it. He reminds me, but Bhagavan reminds me of a master of ceremonies at a circus. And
I can see that, yeah.
You know, Anton LaVey was a master of ceremonies for a circus. That's where he met. I heard it was Marilyn Monroe, but then somebody told me later it was Jane Mansfield. But either way, he met one of those bombshell actresses. She was working in the circus, and he was a master of ceremonies in a circus. So, you know, I'm like, they have to be able to be a good con artist.
Yeah.
You know, they have to have that charisma with that. And
he definitely knows how to work and talk and do all of that.
You know, so it's just like, wow. And what's his medium? Animals, exotic animals, and people love exotic animals. There's something really sexy about them. There was a couple of times that I'm kind of like looking at the chimpanzees. I was watching one of the episodes, and it was and the chimpanzee kind of had goo eyes for one of the girls, and I'm over here like, because they really treat them very humanistic.
Yes, they do, actually.
And I'm kind of like, wow.
They treat them as one of their own. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of like their training to
Yeah.
an extent to like whenever people come and like pet them or whatever.
Well, and I look at it as a way to make them more docile, or go from that jungle instinct to being productive and creative instinct. Because it's like you watch them, they'll be like stirring, making chili and things like that. Yeah, it's cute as cute gets. But when they do something, when they're learning something, especially like the baby ones, they're like, yay! So I've noticed I've been doing this, yay! And I've been watching so much of it that I have 2 dogs that are now acting like they'll watch Aganda and how Aganda kind of climbs around on his human mom, and they're like trying to do Aganda stuff, and I'm like, that's enough. You can't help me by stirring, So I don't need your help. I was a little creeped out though, because when they do the cooking videos, you can the chimpanzees are like sticking their fingers in the food, and then like they'll chop up vegetables, and he's got his hands all over the ding dang vegetables, and then they just put it right in the pot, and I'm like, oh fudge. Oh, God, what you all do at home when you're feeding yourselves and nobody's watching, we don't give a crap. I don't care, because I'm not there. But I'm like, don't do that. I'm like over there just going, Bali, don't do that. Bali, don't do that. Bali, do not put your hands in there. And then, boom, what does Bali do? He puts his hands in there, and I'm like, fuck. Oh, excuse me. I can't eat that now. But, yeah, so, so it's like, it's really interesting just to watch how people have a particular face or character that they play, and it was like, she's, Mrs. Baldwin, I'm going to just call her Mrs. Baldwin now, she's getting like tons of hate energy, and I'm like, guys, don't do that.
It's only gonna incite that more, and you just don't wanna. You don't wanna do that.
I was like, technically, right now, don't think that this chick isn't like laying in her bed screaming. Remember, what's her name, Chrissy Teigen?
Oh my God.
When Chrissy Teigen was having a bad day, and she was like screaming, and they were
she
videotaping it and shit.
She was going crazy. She literally had a meltdown.
Yeah.
It was insane. I was scared.
I'm like, I don't think Hillary isn't doing the same thing. I bet you Mrs. Baldwin is taking a bar of Xanax every 4 hours, just to get through this. Because, I mean, that's an incredible hit on your persona. And, and it just is the same thing, earlier when we were talking about saying something crappy to your 11-year-old daughter can totally bruise their self-esteem.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting back and just energetically don't think that Hillary and, Mrs. B hasn't thought about suicide in the last 48 hours, because she's that thought's coming, and that's just what I'm seeing energetically.
My life is ruined.
Is that that desperation. And I was like, and there's not one of us here that can't say we've never felt her desperation, that level. I'm not saying I'm like, oh, hey, let's give her forgive. I'm kind of like, let this be a lesson that don't sell your soul, body, mind, and spirit. Don't sell your soul to something for fame and fortune. You cannot take a quick road to something and not expect a huge consequence, and this was her huge consequence.
If anything, it will create karma, and it for a long time. Yes.
She has 5 kids.
That's
Okay, 5 kids. So now she's got 5 kids
with that karma.
with that karma, picking up that shish, and now taking the social gruff
That's
for
really
her
sad.
faux pas, for her choices. So it, her that choice didn't implicate just her; it implicated the whole scheme, because now people are sitting back and going, "Well, how come her mom and dad didn't say this is bullshit? How come Rachel's parents didn't stand up and say this is BS?"
I think at that point it's more of like, you're on your own. Like, we made this deal, and we have nothing to do with it. It's kind of like breaking that.
Or
that
they come in
line.
and go, "Hey, let me buy you a retirement place over in Spain, so we can call your daughter Spanish, and she can create this persona que ya yo soy Hilaria." Really, I'm like, everybody was in on the gig. Alec was obviously in on the gig. So how can I trust him with anything that he says? And anybody that was in on that, how can you trust them to ever really tell you the truth? Because they were all a part of this great faux pas. So it's like, when they open their mouth, we just want to put our hand up and go, yeah, 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 bah, bah, bah. Don't want to hear it. I will never trust anything that comes out of a Baldwin mouth. And they'll talk, well, there's good Baldwin brothers, and then that's the conservative side,
I'm like,
and they'll go in there, and I'm like,
there's still something there.
There's still something there. I was like, just like the one that's married to Justin Bieber. Oh, she came from the good Baldwin.
Oh, I did not even think of
Yeah, Haley Baldwin.
that.
Well, and I was like, I think Haley is a handler.
And I totally agree with you on that, because Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez were actually together, but then they separated for a while, and he was good for a while where he was like getting his stuff together and all this other stuff, but I think during that time he was actually being groomed to get ready to be with her, and I honestly don't like her. I really don't.
Oh, I guess they made fun of her about a cookie recipe. She did this thing about chocolate chip cookies, and her secret on the chocolate chip cookies was, on top of them, she put a pat of butter on the top of them when they baked, so they would be crispy on the outside and chewy and soft in the inside. And so somebody did a blog and where they used her recipe, and they were like, yeah, no, there wasn't anything special in that shish. Yeah. So I kind of started laughing. And I was like, yeah, but, she's got to do something cutesy or whatever to have the Betty Crocker-ish, to have that good Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm appearance. But I was like, she's no different than Hilaria Baldwin. She's not. She really isn't.
No.
They're really no different. She's has a persona, and that's the persona that she gives to the public, and just like Cher and all the rest of them, they have a persona that they live to the public, and that's how the public sees them.
Yeah.
If you found out, just like, I don't even know why J-Lo, like, all of it did the Jenny from the Block thing, because I was like, was she ever really Jenny from the Block, or was she always groomed?
I think whenever she ended up being a backup dancer and started moving up, because originally she was a dancer, and her
She was a
parents.
fly girl
A what?
on Living Color.
Really?
Yes.
I think she actually mentioned that. But yeah, anyway, so whenever she ended up like moving up or whatever, I think that she was like slowly groomed to becoming this big person. And I think that once she ended up becoming really big and like having several movies like Made in Manhattan and stuff like that, and like, and honestly, like I thought that was a really great movie, but at the end, I think it was like maybe a year ago or something like that I saw it. It made me really upset because I'm like, there's plenty of Hispanic women out there, or from like Hispanic descents, that you do see a lot of them that clean houses and that are in cleaning services, and it was like, it makes people think that this is all that they are, if that makes any sense.
Okay, but then what
Yeah.
else do we do in Hispanic TV? If you're not the maid, then you're the chick that looks like the hooker. I mean, remember Flaca en el Gordo?
Oh, yes. Yep.
She's always, or was always, I haven't watched it in years,
Mhm.
scantily dressed.
Yeah, no, that's true. People always called her white, too. Because she looked like white, but she wasn't. She was something else or whatever.
They're probably,
Yeah.
well, I was like, to be honest, you have Caucasian,
Mhm.
Black, Asian, and Indigenous, as in like Native American.
Okay, yeah,
Your
yeah.
Eskimos
Mhm.
and your Native Americans. Latinos are considered to be Caucasian. It wasn't until, just like we get 55 genders, but
Yeah,
for
yeah,
millenniums,
Mhm.
you were Black, you were Asian, you were white, or you were a Native, you know,
Native or like an
Indigenous, you know.
yeah, it was like Alaskan or something like
Yeah,
that.
like
Yeah.
you were like the Eskimos, the Inuits, or you were
Yeah.
an Indian.
Mhm.
You know, that was what they called it. You know, Aztec, Maya, whatever. You were, but as in you know, so they looked. So it was like Hispanic, Latinos
Mhm.
are Caucasian. We're not white. Oh, honey, yeah, y'all are. Unless you are mixed
Something,
with
yeah.
the Indians. So if you were Tarahumara, Aztec, Maya, you know, whatever tribe,
Mhm.
then you can claim that
Those.
now, because now we recognize those as tribal Indians, you know. But
Mhm.
yeah, you're Pepe Gonzalez, and Gonzalez with a Z or Gonzalez with an S. I don't care.
Mhm.
You technically are Caucasian,
Caucasian,
and you're
yeah.
like, oh hell. Now, as Hispanic and Latino is a culture.
I was thinking about that because anytime you fill out like tests or whatever, they ask you to fill that in, even in middle school or high school or whatever. And I thought that was just like, what? But yeah.
I was
mean,
like, Latino is a culture. Anybody can be a Latino, and that's where I go back to Rachel.
Mhm.
You know, who's whatever her name is. You know, Nakia or Nakia.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, is that if she wants to identify Black, rock on.
Mhm.
You know, if I want to, you know, whatever you
Right.
feel, I was like, whatever your vibe is, rock on.
Mhm.
And I say that about gender, you know, and
Mhm.
gender fluidity. You were born a male and you want to identify female, or born female and identify male, play the role.
Mhm.
Rachel went to she got her hair curled, you know,
She
and,
looks the
and
part.
she looked the part.
Yeah.
She went
She
and tanned her
changed.
skin. You know, I don't know if she spoke with Ebonics. You know, I don't know how extreme she went with it,
Mhm. Mhm.
but she filled the part. You know, Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn.
Oh, he did the whole.
He did.
the
He
whole-
filled the part.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's no
Okay.
longer he. It's a she.
Yeah.
So you say Caitlyn, I'll say okay, Caitlyn. Okay, but you know, if you don't, you know, it's you got to fill that part. You can't be that con artist
Mhm.
and live at semi or live at half time.
Mhm.
Drag queens do that. That's their job.
Mhm.
They entertain with that vibration.
Mhm.
So we know a drag queen is really a dude in a dress.
Mhm.
That drag queen didn't saying I'm transsexual
Well, yeah.
or
I think
transgender.
Yeah, and a lot of people do get that mixed up unless they tell you I am transgender, or you know, unless they make that distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but you know, people that are willing to be manipulated in my just kind of in my opinion, and we were talking, and you put in because we were actually we were talking. We ended up talking about Dr. Bhagavan, and then that led to Joe Exotic, and we know somebody that Joe Exotic had like was attracted to, but the attraction was not mutual. Thank God. But
and will never be.
It never be. In fact, when we mentioned it, they were like, "Oh my God," made a face like, "Oh God, that was so gross." But and it's kind of like people, and so I'm like, at some point, Hillary was manipulated and groomed to follow direction, or she would have never gone along with that scam. Especially when you start having kids. Your energy changes. You may be meek and whatever, but when you start having children, that mama bear, the mama lioness, that that energy flow comes through where you are now a protectress of your babes, and so your energy very much changes. And so I'm really kind of surprised that her energy didn't change. Because she has like 5 kids. And I'm like, how in the hell does she have 5 kids and be that ding-dang skinny?
Ryan's sister actually had twins, and she looks the same. And people ask her, like, you have kids? And because I even thought that to myself. And people ask her all the time, and she's like, yeah, I have twins. And
well, shoot, with twins, I'd be a stick too. Or I would be really big and fluffy because I stressed out all the time. I don't know.
But she does work out a lot, and she takes care of herself. Like, that's also another thing. Is she even worked out when she was pregnant.
I wouldn't have stopped. So I might have modified some things.
But she ate super healthy. I mean, she did it all. So, and
I'm on her left, and she carried to 39 weeks. And with twins, which is almost a miracle, because they're normally trying to kick out at about, 36 weeks, 33, 36?
I don't know, but I know she did have a C-section, and she ended up, having the babies or whatever, so.
Oh, yeah, well, that's how much. I'd rather have a C-section. Well, no. Actually, vaginal deliveries weren't that bad, but going back to Hillary, I'm like, oh my God, why are we talking about that? But, it's kind of like people living, was this a choice for her? I believe, like, when I look at Rachel really thought she was black. That's what she identified with. So, I can't say that I think that Hillary or Hilaria really was identified being Spanish. I think that she wanted to have that hot salsa, J-Lo, who, Ariana Grande, that Latina, Becky G kind of vibe, the hot Latina chick, but couldn't pull Latina, but could pull Spanish, and I'm like, so, they bought, somebody bought your parents their retirement home in Spain, to say, shh, be quiet.
Yeah.
Now she can say she's Spanish, because her parents are living in Spain. So, but, and it makes me kind of sad. Then we look at Joe Exotic, and I'm like, that dude, wow, his energy and vibration were something else. Because we'd talked about being in quarantine, and you'd watched it. Wasn't it kind of like at the height of the quarantine, everybody watched it, like...
Yes, it was one of the most popular ones that people watched, and I think I was the only one, like, in my family that watched it, just because my brothers were kind of, like, doing their own thing or whatever, but that was one that I watched, and just, like, everything that he talked about and his life story, his energy was very out there, he was very open. I almost think that he was a little too open to my taste, because I'm like, he honestly believed that the person he created in his mind was really who he thought he was, and everything that he believed in, like his way of thinking and the way of doing things and how he felt was like he believed it and lived it.
Yeah,
and that was so crazy to me, because it was like it's kind of like whenever a narcissist tells himself a lie, and he tells it so often that he truly believes it.
Yeah.
is what I was
I
getting.
was like, that was a 24/7 vibration for him, because I, it was like on some of them, just like in Rachel, right? That's her 24/7. And I'm wondering, so when Hilaria goes home at the end of a taping or whatever, does she go home and is she Hillary? Is she Hillary around her husband? Is she Hillary around her kids? But then once the camera's rolling or the mic is on, whatever, does she turn into Hilaria? Because I was like, on Joe Exotic, no, he was that was 24/7. That was his vibe, and very much a con man, very much charismatic. I cannot figure out, because a couple of those guys that were his husbands were kind of attractive young men.
They were very attractive. I was surprised.
I was like, what did he do to groom them where they like fell in love? Now the latter one, I think, is a gold digger, and I'm like, I don't think Joe's got any gold left.
It was more of like a there's not a mutual like partner feel. It's more of like a daddy son is what it is, and it's like, let me show you, because even in the show, I'm gonna kind of give something away if you guys haven't seen it, but he had actually something similar happen to him whenever he was younger, and so I think that's part of why he is the way he is, because of that.
I'm like, but how did that make you? Because I'm the nurse in me is looking, how did that make you feel? And I'm like, I guess to wake up one day and know that you were manipulated and, raped, body, mind, and spirit with that, why would you want to carry that legacy on? Why?
Shame.
I'm like, I don't get it. I wouldn't want to carry that legacy on, but, and it was, and, just like Dr. Bhagavan, I think that Joe also, I think very much has that master of ceremonies, charismatic con man vibe going, and that played a big role in it. I think that he became very immersed in that role and became that role, and that was all that Joe Exotic, the victim, no longer exists. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I get it. It was funny when they were talking about President Trump doing all these pardons. And I want to say it was Ted Cruz, and I'm sure it was tongue-in-cheek, but it was like one of the senators was talking about seeing if President Trump would pardon Joe Exotic, and I was like, please don't do that.
I was going to say, no, there's no way. I think there's more people that actually want him in jail than they want him out because of what happened and just everything that,
That, you know what, I was like, again, that's, going back to 50, 60 years ago, do you think that really would have, all of that shish would have happened? To a degree, but not to
the extent of where it went to. Yeah, I think even just him trying to run for governor or whatever it was, that was just like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like you
we would have never let that happen, back in the 50s and 60s. That shish would have been shut down. They would have gone, oh no. Confirmed bachelors do not do that. Not ones like you, Lindsey Graham, yes, but no, I think Lindsey Graham might be married. But, so it's really interesting. You sit back and you look at it, and it was like, we created this. We allowed this. All of these things that are occurring around us, and some of the masks are being removed, but we cultivated that. We allowed that. And I'm going to say it was my generation that allowed for the birth of this.
I think also another reason why it's gotten so bad is that because of that acknowledgement, and also, the kids truly or even just like people my age truly believing it and actually embracing it, it's become a part of who they believe that they are. And so it's one of those things where it's kind of like it's a bad habit to break, and to shift that perspective and shift that mindset of like,
well, shit, because then you have to be accountable.
Right.
And that's what it is. We've disconnected with accountability. The masks were a sense of disconnect with accountability. You know, you're not seeing the full face of somebody, and they can commit any sin, any crime, any thought crime, whatever. And because you can't identify with their full vibration of because, I mean, eyes, you know. I've got 15 sets of eyes in a lineup. Yeah. I recognize those eyes anywhere, you know.
Yeah. No, that's true.
So, well, they're all wearing contacts, you know. So I was like, yeah, I don't like the mask thing. The mask thing, I think, continues that disintegration of who we are as people. And it, you know, destroys the accountability and the responsibility, and that's what we've created. And so, you know, I hope Hillary finds some peace and balance, and you know, and at some point, I hope that she comes out and she just says the truth. That was my persona. That was my yoga teacher online persona. This is who I am at home, and this is who I am on the clock. And it's two different people. Could you accept that if somebody... I
feel like if they were willing to like be open about it and accept that this is what I'm doing to an extent. But if I knew that they were doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing, then that would be the issue with me. Like, it's kind of like taking on the like being a drag queen. Like, I would be okay with that because they're acting as this, but if it's like, if you are living a lie and not being truthful about it, then that's the issue that I have. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the fact of like just being honest about like this is who I am versus like, oh, I'm gonna con artist everybody, all these people, and not even acknowledge or give a crap.
Yeah, that's the way I kind of look at it, you know. And then it was like you have a persona of who they are on the outside, what Hollywood or the industry or, you know, wants you to look like or act like, and then you have the person that's on the inside, and how are they different, or how are they same? Are they the same across the board? You know, what is the public view, the public perspective? What does the industry want people to perceive you as? The good guy, the bad guy, the good girl, the bad girl. You know, the hot Spanish yoga instructor, or you know, you're the rich girl from Boston. The rich girl from Boston wasn't appealing to the perspective, but the hot girl from Spain was. Rebel Wilson, everybody, that's your job, that's your homework, because she was outed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Rebel Wilson was outed. The story, her backstory, her, you know, of her character, Rebel Wilson, was not who she really was. There's a couple of people like that, but that's your homework. Ding, da, da, ding, ding, ding. Ding, da, da, ding, ding, ding. This was actually the first episode, 3rd season. I'm like shocked.
Yeah.
Of Mares Keeps It Real. I was like, I just realized that. Dang, I didn't even really kind of close out last season. But that's cool, because this was like a neat surprise. And so, Hillary and Miss Baldwin, and Mrs. Baldwin's been on my mind for a couple of days, and so I have been sending her peace and healing, and that she find some vibe in herself to forgive herself and move on. Peace, love, and harmony. I hope to hear or see you soon.